I'm Maddie.
I'm Amber. And we're Witches Talking Tarot.
We are the weirdos in this one.
I get soft like a sailor snubble. Flip the switch and let the cauldron bubble. Sam.
Wow. Hey everybody, I'm Amber.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. And today, we are talking all about the Tartarian Empire, y'all. Yes, I said it. The Tartarian Empire. Greater Tartary. I could have said the conspiracy theory about the Tartarian Empire, but as we talk, you'll find out why I didn't fucking say that.
Can we start out with the fact
Happy
that
Tuesday, y'all. It's gonna be a wild one.
Can we start out with the fact that like a lot of things that I read said something between the in the 1800s that this was a thing?
That's when it went like that's. I feel like that was like the height of the thing, but I'd rather start out with talking about the fact that there really are actual factual maps that say Greater Tartary.
Yeah.
I grew up seeing Greater Tartary on maps. So to me, the Tartarian Empire, yes, actually it's a fact. Mm-hmm. It's like an actual factual thing. But then I learn all this stuff that's like on the surface crazy. But in reality, matches my full beliefs. But let's talk about the 1800s thing where it's like that's the height of the Tartarian Empire, or when that was like really, 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 a thing, and they really started getting wiped out after the 1800s, right? I always thought when you watch the stuff from the 1800s and you see like clips of like the way that they lived and stuff back then, mm-hmm. I've always been like, the way that they moved, like, it seemed otherworldly. Mm-hmm. It seemed not of this world that I existed. Mm-hmm. And I find it very interesting that, like you said, the height of the Tartarian Empire is like the 1800s. Because they say that things like, or I guess it wasn't the mud flood in the 1800s. Okay. So it existed up until the 1800s when the mud flood started taking it out, right?
Yes.
Also, something about the term mud flood does sound really icky. There's something, I don't know, maybe it's because of Harry Potter and mud blood, but something about mud floods just feels
diarrheal.
Well, I don't want to say the R word, but somehow mud floods just seems really. Were you targeting
mud flood?
I don't know. Like again, maybe
you
it's just
because
mud
flood.
Mud blood is an insult in the Harry Potter world, and so mud flood, it just feels like an insult somehow, not a thing that happened.
So I have a couple questions for you. I hope you can answer them. Couldn't really find the answers I was looking for. One, okay. So the height of the Tartarian Empire takes place in the 1800s. This is going to sound so dumb because this is exactly what we're talking about. If it happened so soon, not that long ago, why don't we hear anything about it?
Okay, so the conspiracy theory mm-hmm. tells you mm-hmm. that they wanted everybody to forget about the Tartarian Empire. Like, that's why a lot of the things we'll discuss later, like the buildings being destroyed and mm-hmm. all these things, they didn't want people to remember what life was like in the Tartarian Empire, because the reason they were wiping it out was because, it was a threat, I guess, to the rest of the world, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. We'll discuss that later, because I'm sure we're going to go through, our own theory things, right? But what I read said that in the world of these conspiracy theorists who, hardcore believe in the Tartarian Empire, mm-hmm. that if anybody exhibited signs of remembering, they would just be locked up in an insane asylum. And we've talked so many times about how, women particularly, but the same thing happened to men of unfortunate circumstances, just get thrown in an insane asylum and you disappear there. You're gone. You disappear. You know what I mean?
And my other question is, so most of what I read said that the mud floods were intentional. How? How were they intentional?
Okay.
Am I getting ahead of myself? I'm not.
No, but like
these are the legit questions.
This is like, so my only answer for that is my own theory. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, in season 1, episode 3, we talk about the gray.
Yes.
The gray aliens. And we talk about that supposed deal made.
Your little froggy friend.
Yes,
Is this new? Has he been doing this?
Well, I mean, it's never the same frog. I mean, it's frogs mate in our pond. It's part of the ecosystem.
When did they start making them?
I noticed it.
Was it
last night
week?
or the night before last?
Yeah, it was
the first time I noticed.
We recorded last week and I didn't hear them. This is the first time I'm hearing
them. I
them.
think like they just came back within the last couple days.
Ostara.
Yeah.
Or the day after Ostara, and now we're hearing them.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the Ostara. Because what's today?
Yeah, so it's a couple days after, or the day after.
Well, because I mean, if you go by the rule of 3, then Ostara was what, the 19th through the 21st, or the 20th through the 22nd. So it just kind of depends.
Frogs are. I love when nature works with those holidays. But
anyway, I do too. I love it. I do. So the Greys made the deal with at least the U.S. government in the 60s. I thought it was. Oh yeah, because before Kennedy.
It was before Kennedy.
Whoever's before Kennedy.
Franklin.
I don't know.
Franklin.
Oh, Roosevelt. That's right. Yeah, Franklin D. Roosevelt. So, they made that deal, right? And so there's the theory that they made the deal with the aliens for technology for the use of us as testing material, right? Okay. So, who would have a vested interest in the Tartarian Empire going away? Okay, so think about it like this. So there's the theory of the Anunnaki. So the gods are actually aliens that seeded this planet with their life, or hybridized with something here, and that's what created humans, right?
Big S.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Similar to.
Right. I get you. Okay, it just took me a second. I was like, hold up, but now I know what you I'm not saying the rest of the word, but I'm with you.
I know I can't.
Okay.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why I was like.
Right. Exactly.
Sorry for the whispering, guys. We're explaining to each other what we didn't say, so that this video didn't get flagged by the powers that be. So anyway, okay. So maybe humans are a hybrid of aliens. Maybe humans are not a hybrid of aliens, and we ourselves evolved to a certain point where we had, the things that you believe in Atlantis and the things that you believe in the Tartarian Empire. And so, like, humans are evolving to this place that aliens don't want us to be at, because we are not supposed to be as advanced and civilized and all this stuff as them, right? So who would be able to create natural disasters that would result in mass flooding to take out the buildings that we are using to generate the energy that is helping us advance, because they want to be able to use their technology as leverage. So we can't have technology or better technology than what they have. So
we're going to go...
I'm just saying, like, this was my
thought
about that, but I don't know the conspiracy theory answer about that.
Turn around.
This is just my own personal thought about that. You
so
know what I'm
here's
saying?
the thing.
Because I don't know if I read
all
that.
batshit crazy.
Yes, this episode's batshit crazy, but I came in a not believer, but I am a believer.
You know who?
Not a believer, a believer.
Then I saw her face. Okay, so...
That's great. I love that. I love that.
Anyway, okay, so we want to go all batshit crazy. You know who can control the weather to create a mud flood?
Aliens?
The U.S. government. They got their little, weather machine they created.
But in theory, in part of the Tartarian Empire lore, would be that, like, the White House is part of the Tartarian Empire building, right? So why would the U.S. government, unless they wanted to just turn the clock back because they didn't like the advancement and they wanted to be this backward-ass country,
or they wanted
that
to
pitted
control
its people against each other?
They wanted control.
Okay, I'm with it. I get you. I still thought aliens. I'm down with this, but I still kind of am like, aliens. Anyway.
I just feel like, you say aliens, absolutely believe in aliens, but also I could see the government doing exactly that. Like, they're like, no, because everybody's so advanced and enlightened that they know when they're about to be controlled. Right. So we don't want that no more. So we're getting rid of anymore. I apologize.
No, I get you, because I agree with that. I do agree with that. I saw
oh my god, it was the aliens and the government together.
Because, again, that deal, they're like, you want weapons? We've got weapons. We've got stuff that's weapons versus this love and light getting energy from the air bullshit.
But who was the number one baddie that wanted the weapons because everything was love and light and air shit? Satan. No, I'm just another layer. No.
I love it. Okay, so who would
Illuminati.
Okay, so 1800s, who are our presidents? So it makes sense, though, because in the 1800s, we're doing the westward expansion. Makes sense that...
This is before the Civil War. The Civil War was 1862.
I had no idea.
I did.
I know World War II, y'all.
To 1868, I think.
Which also comes into play with this. Anyway,
or 1864, something like that.
You.
Anyway,
okay.
so we got before the Civil War.
So
before
it's
Little House on the Prairie. Okay.
Okay, so we are buying the Louisiana Purchase. We are making our westward expansion into not our land. And by we, I mean not me. My people wasn't here yet except for the one line that existed here before elsewhere. Not me, y'all. Anyway, I'm sorry. I will pull that card. I am second and third generation American except for where I am Native American, and that is just my great-great-grandmother. I will pull that card every single day of the week. I like that my family was not a part of that. I know it's terrible. I know it's awful. I hope I didn't misspeak, y'all. Anywho, so who was the president in like 18? Who was the president in 1820?
President Benjamin Franklin. Didn't he purchase the Louisiana Purchase?
So like we're saying 1800s, right?
1762. No, that's 1662. They sold the Ocean Blue. 1790s. When did the United States have their Revolutionary War? Because at that same time,
taking place at the height of the era of good feelings in 1820. Sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you. And Monroe was president in 1820, which would have been around the height of the Tartarian Empire, right?
Would you look up when Benjamin Franklin was president? Just because now I'm like, hold on, am I totally wrong? Was he like president in this sense? It was the United States. It wasn't the early.
Well, wait. Franklin was part of the Civil War, or the Revolutionary War,
which was
right?
Like the 1780s, right? Wasn't the start of the Senate because the 17.
Oh, Franklin was never a president.
What? Shut the fuck up.
He was the governor of Pennsylvania, the first United States ambassador to France.
I switched. Yeah. Oh, stop. I just switched timelines, bro. I swear to God. What the fuck do you mean? Why is he on the $100 bill if was never president?
Oh, because he was just like important.
What you be like? He's not on the $100 bill. I'd be like, shut up! Like,
no, that's why it's called a Benjamin, guys. The more you know.
I knew he was an inventor.
Yeah, the key and the lightning. Oh my God! Okay. Do you know what I learned today? Talking about, this isn't switched timelines. This is twisted history, which goes really, really well with this Tartarian Empire episode. So I read, and I'm actually going to do a Morning Witch episode this week about it.
I'm going to message my husband.
Actually, I'll do it today because this episode goes out on Tuesday. So I'll do my episode for Tuesday about this twisted history I learned.
Please continue. I just got to know.
I just forgot the guy's name. Beethoven. Because we were talking about Benjamin Franklin and it was a B name and I was like, what the fuck?
He was a weirdo. Beethoven.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to say that at all. So, what do we know about Beethoven? We know that Beethoven was a famous deaf composer, and all the time we're like, Beethoven was deaf and he was a composer. You can do anything. No, Beethoven was a composer who went deaf and lost his lucrative music career. He was not deaf as a composer. I have always been taught.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Stop.
No, that's the narrative gets changed.
Hold on, everybody.
And this goes right hand in fucking hand with this whole thing because the narrative was changed. I'm sorry, damn it, we said Benjamin Franklin. Beethoven's last fucking words to his brothers were, please tell my story, because essentially he suffered all these ailments that there were no answers for, and he died a miserable death, and he wasn't able to do what he loved after, like, you know, the height of his career. He lost his hearing fully in his 40s. He could have continued making music for so long, except he died at 56, so really he couldn't have, but he wasn't making music when he was deaf. And I was always taught that he was a deaf composer. No, the narrative has been misshapen as it's like the game of telephone,
The only thing that I knew
fucking
about
crazy, y'all.
The only thing that I knew about Beethoven was what I learned from kinky history, which was that he was fucking his cousin and had a thing about farts.
That sounds like I don't have the microphone to pick that up.
Did he have a thing too? Did he really, or is that just
And he screwed his cousin.
They all was fucking.
She was really young too. Like he horrified his cousin, if I remember.
I think her name was like Mary, for Beethoven, and they you can read his letters. The letters are so funny. He's just like, I love following kinky history because she does read these letters. She did one for Napoleon, and then she did one for him, and he was saying like, I can't wait to meet you again so that you can fart on me, big ones and little ones and squeaky ones.
Wouldn't it be funny if this girl was just like making this shit up?
Oh my god, no, I love her. She actually. Wait, what?
I mean, who knows? Who can verify that that's not a mistranslation or a fake?
It could be, but she went.
I'm not saying this girl is a fake. I'm saying, wouldn't it be funny?
I love her. She went to university specifically for history of sex, which I didn't realize is a thing.
There's a history of everything. Yeah, it's very important
to go.
Sex is a part of life. Sex is like the biggest part of life. And no, I don't mean life is all about sex, but I mean without sex, life does not continue.
My fear
is the biggest part of life.
My fear is if I were to study like a history of sex or go to but it would lose the sexiness of it and become more mechanical, which is like I could never be a gynecologist. I could never be a, you know what I mean? Because how do you know how does it lose the sexiness? You know what I'm saying?
Because okay, so I'm over here from the other end of the aspect, like not as a gynecologist, but like if I was some kind of doctor that had to deal with the penis or the testicles, right? And it's like if they're not hard, there's nothing great about that.
Well, and
anyway,
as I'm thinking, I'm like it could be like breastfeeding. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like with breastfeeding, that's
it's like
not sexual at all.
Right.
But then so like maybe it's
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't. Anyway, so Greater Tartary. So what? Okay, so I learned about some interesting technological things that they had in Greater Tartary. We talk about the height of Greater Tartary. Let's talk about what Greater Tartary is actually, because I was going to skip ahead. But Greater Tartary, if you look on a map, it's this region that encompasses a lot of Asia and it encompasses Siberia and
like Russia, right?
Right. But then obviously Greater Tartary expands outside of that if all of these dome-shaped spire-topped buildings are evidence of the Tartarian Empire, right? So I actually kind of think that Greater Tartary is more of the alliance as opposed to one geographical region, and Greater Tartary is a geographical region, but the Tartarian Empire spans more of the globe. If the conspiracy theory is correct, but you can look it up on a map.
for you.
Yeah.
So Tartary is like a giant civilization, right? Not everybody's important. They're just living I mean, everybody's important, but not everybody's like a important figure. They're just living their life and happen to live in this empire, right? Like,
It's just people.
so my question is like,
Super advanced people, like in Atlanta.
I just feel like I could get
So it's,
behind it more if it
better
was
than
more like
what we have now.
ancient. Because I do
Well,
believe
see,
it,
I
but it's like
believe that
so...
I believe that it ended, like the beginning of the end was in the 1800s.
Okay, so it expanded.
But I think it began far before that, and at the same time, actually, I do. I think it did begin. Like, so part of the conspiracy theory is that when the mud floods came in the 1800s and started wiping things out, that
But how come the technology...
They made people forget, and if you wouldn't willingly forget and stop talking about Greater Tartary, then you got locked up in a mental asylum. Because essentially, the whole point of the mud floods, if they were intentional, was to wipe out the existence of this super advancement of human civilization and force us to live in a reality that was not the real reality. The whole thing is they're lying to us about our past and telling us we were, the dark ages existed when it didn't. We never lived in the squalor. The plague never happened. The Industrial Revolution never happened. Greater Tartary existed during all of that. This is the conspiracy theory, and I hate that I kind of believe it as much as I love history. So let me keep talking before I hurt my own heart. Okay, so, because I do love history, y'all, and this basically says that all we know of is history is a lie, basically. So all of that shit never happened. At that time, it was like this utopia, like in Atlantis and the Tartarian
This is
Empire.
all over.
Yes, and like these buildings that they had. So all of these domed buildings, like think about Russia. When you think about the nice ass, really fancy old buildings in Russia, what they've got domes and they've got the spires at the top, right? Now we've been told the spires at the top are lightning, or they're lightning rods to prevent being struck by lightning and the building catching fire, back when a lot of our buildings were made from wood. But that could just be a lie. I know I sound crazy. Let me keep talking.
Well, the Taj Mahal.
Exactly, the Taj Mahal. All these buildings, right? Including the White House or whatever.
Yeah,
we have spires, dome spire
Missouri.
building.
Is it the state building?
Right, exactly. Like all these other places, right? So what these buildings were, according to the conspiracy theory of Tartarian Empire, is these buildings were creating energy, or I'm sorry, not creating energy. They were harvesting energy from the atmosphere and creating like electricity and stuff from that. Enough electricity to power the whole city. That's why most like Capitol buildings and shit like that will have spires and things like that, right? Even like the World's Fairs get tied up in this whole part of the architectural part of the conspiracy theory, because they said like, why, you never saw anybody building them, and really what they were remnants of Tartarian Empire cities that they said were built for the World's Fair and then demolished afterward. So earlier I said that World War II was going to come into play with this, just like Civil War, where we talked about the Civil War because of the timeline. Anyway, World War II and World War I, per the conspiracy theory, happened mostly just to destroy a lot of these buildings that came from the Tartarian Empire so that they could get rid of the technology and the collective memory. And guys, when I tell you that I came into this a non-believer, and all of this shit really matches up with a lot of things I think, and I am like a wholehearted believer to a degree, more than I'd like, and it hurts me a little to say that, but it's absolutely true. All of that shit makes sense to me. Does that mean I'm crazy? I don't think so.
One, my husband said it was a common misconception. I don't fucking believe him. That's about Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
Two, I really don't know. I really, truly don't know, because I do believe that there was a advanced civilization, like you mentioned, Atlantis.
Right.
We check out our Pangea episode. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was destroyed as soon as the 1800s. I'm very conflicted.
But if they've lied to us, if they have rewritten
But how can
history,
you? But I guess you can, because I
You
was going to say,
can.
how can you rewrite history so quickly?
the winners always rewrite history. They get to
But
write
that's
the
not that
history.
long ago at all. You know what I mean? But if you,
But who's still alive from the 1800s?
there were for a while. I mean,
And
if
those
you,
people that, like, there were for a while. And there are people who talk about sailing into Hollow Earth, and they're made out to be crazy. People who talk about Tartaria and an empire where it's like a utopia and you didn't have to work for anything and everything was wonderful and all these machines existed. Like, I saw these videos from like the 1800s with like the coolest inventions, like bikes that like you like just do two pedals and it propels you forward, or like a car that like walked on its own, kind of, because they were able to engineer these, like, I don't know if kinetic energy is the right thing, but it made me think of kinetic energy. But it's self-powered. The action of the motors powered itself, so you didn't need to
well, they
make
still have
gasoline.
those. They still have those. Those are self-powered engines, which is like, that's definitely still a thing.
Okay, very cool.
I
But
know
like
what
they
you
had roller skates that had this technology in them. It was so
I mean, they're not like for cars or anything like that, but like
these were for cars. These were for roller skates and bicycles. There was a car that the dude folded it out and slid it in between two cars into like this narrow ass parking space. Like, I hate that AI exists now because it's so hard to trust stuff, but it definitely looked like the 1800s, and a lot of the stuff from the 1800s, the early 1900s, it has this look and this feel about it that's otherworldly.
mm-hmm.
I do get where you're coming from with like rewriting history. Can they really do it that quickly? But how do we know the truth of anything? We read what is written, which is what is available to us. How do we know the truth of those things? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the way that the Tartarian Empire conspiracy theory plays out, it matches up with so much shit I already believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to me. Do I believe that the Tartarian Empire existed? It's so hard for me to say no because it matches up with everything I believe.
Right, I do believe it
because
existed.
I believe they would lie to us. They Epstein off people that create cars that run on water. You know what I mean? Like, so many promising scientists that figure out things that are good for the world but bad for capitalism. Gone. Gone.
To be fair, though, that's one person, not an entire civilization. Like, that's like so, you know what I mean?
But that's like a lot of one person's. So if an entire civilization was wiped out because the people that are in charge right now don't want us to figure out that information, so every time one person figures it out, they're gone because they don't want to rise of the knowledge.
Well, that's another question I have. So this civilization, this advanced technology was in Tartaria, right? Why wasn't it anywhere else in the world? How was it contained in this?
But that's what I'm saying about the Tartarian Empire was an alliance, I think, because of the fact that the conspiracy theory spans the entire, like, it spans all over the place. It's not just in Europe. Yeah, it starts in Far East Europe and Central Asia. But, it includes the DC like a building in Washington, DC. So it's not just in this one place over there on the globe. Yeah, Greater Tartary is a specific location. But the Tartarian Empire, that theory, that spans to Peru, to America. It spans across the globe when you talk about the technology part and the destruction of buildings to hide what was done. And you say, yes, we still have the building in DC, but in the conspiracy theory, they say that that building, like the original that was part of the Tartarian Empire, was taken out and then it was replaced with a less technological version of itself.
Is it possible that the Tartarian Empire did exact?
Oh no, I was just saying.
Is it
I don't
possible
know about what
that the
I said.
Tartarian Empire did what the Roman Empire did and just spread itself way too thin?
I mean, I guess that is possible. Definitely possible.
And so
because
if
the
a
mud
disaster
floods
struck and they're spread so thin, it's kind of hard to recoup. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. Because, like, am I saying that I definitely believe aliens or the U.S. government or a government that wanted to hold people down was what took out the Tartarian Empire? No, not at all, because when I was reading about the mud floods, I just read it as a natural disaster. I guess maybe I missed where people think it was caused by something else. But that said, I think that could mud floods have happened and wiped something out that they didn't want replaced, so they lied about it? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I do think that. Because I do think the mud floods were a natural disaster, if that's real. Here's the thing. I don't believe in the conspiracy theory because of the mud floods thing, like, because they say, oh, well, this city's built on top of this city, it must have been buried under a mud flood. Well, we know that erosion happens if the town gets abandoned. You know, it might get filled up, you know, and you have to build over it. I don't know. Maybe they've been lying to me my whole life, though. I believe that. Anyway, you were saying.
It's very... Well, I mean, like, mud floods happen all the time. I mean, like, we were just talking about that little girl that was stuck during the mud floods. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, like...
Sure.
They do happen all the time, and if they spread themselves so thin because they were an advanced civilization, so they were stretching out.
Well, and they're more focused on the brain, not the brawn necessarily. Exactly. So, like, are they thinking about having, you know, the physical things for moving out all this mud? Because sure, maybe they've perfected the sound energy of moving things with vibration, but mud is water and particles of dirt. I bet sound energy doesn't probably work on that substance the same as it works on a big block of stone. Yeah. That's my thought. I'm not a physicist. I don't know.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and say I do think that Tartary. I do think they were real, yes. I do think they were destroyed by mud floods. Do I necessarily think there was a higher power that destroyed them? No, not really. But I think it's also... I didn't really think that about Atlantis either. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't think anything destroyed Atlantis because they got too advanced. I think it was just a natural thing that happened. Right. So I think with that, I think it's a natural thing that happened. But like you said, let's not have it happen again. So let's just ensure it doesn't happen again. Right. It's easier to control people without it. Let's just keep it that way.
Yeah. Sorry. No, you're good. No, I agree with that because, like, again, when I was reading about the mud floods, I never read it in a way that they were intentionally done by someone. Although, at some point when I was doing my research, I did have the thought that if anybody was wanting to wipe out the technology as opposed to saving it, it would be the gray aliens because they benefit from providing us their own technology. I know it sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't. I'm smiling because I'm thinking about aliens.
Yeah, I do love me
I'm fucked up. Like, I was just thinking about like aliens in general, like grays. They're so cool.
They are,
but they're so
scary. Absolutely.
I think grays may be to me. Grays are scarier than reptilians, 100%. Grays be proven.
I want an alien that talks to me. If you don't talk to me, we got some problems.
Like, if you're just staring at me, and, like, see, the thing is, like, they're not just staring at you. They're also, like, doing tests on you, so they're, like, touching you. And
right, but treating you like a test subject,
right,
not a
and you're like, help, hey, what's going on? And they're just like, open up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
gonna cut your throat open.
oh my god,
Oh.
there's just something
Anyway,
creepy. Whereas
anyway.
reptilians, you know, whatever.
I don't know. Like when you what was the craziest thing to you about the Tartarian Empire conspiracy theory?
Definitely the argument that because there are underground windows, they must have been buried by dirt. And I had mentioned that to you before we started filming. I think that's the craziest, isn't the craziest sounding, but at the same time, I'm like, why are there windows underground? That makes no sense.
I mean, fair enough.
What's the craziest thing?
I don't. The craziest thing to me is how much sense it all makes. Like the whole time I'm doing my research, I'm like, I can't believe I'm like.
I believe all of this.
Like when I was just doing my straight research, I'm like, this is kind of, I don't know how I feel. But when I would read an article by a skeptic, I'd be like, no. Here's the argument to that.
Right.
And I'm all like, oh my God, I think I believe this. I don't know, like, who am I to say they're not lying to us? Because I say all the time they're fucking lying to us. So, like, isn't it crazy of me to be like, oh no, they're not lying to us, even though I say all the time that I believe in most of the shit. So that's where I'm at with it. Where are you guys at with it? I am super curious to know what y'all think about the Tartarian Empire because, like, let me be perfectly clear. Grew up with Greater Tartary on maps, and it was like just a place. Like, I believed in it being a place, just a different name back in the past of this one geographical area. Names change all the time.
If you are, let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost to 500 subscribers. Woo! Plus, I am very curious to know if y'all believe in Tartary.
Or have heard of it, or what you fucking think, even if you don't believe. I am just curious. Like, this research blew my mind, y'all. So thank you. Big thank yous to Death by DVD.
And Victoria.
We appreciate your patronage on patreon.com/Witches Talking Tarot. And we could really use some more support from wonderful folks like you guys listening at home. So, aforementioned link, please, and thank you.
You can find us on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram at Witches Talking Tarot.
And you can find us on the X at Classiest Witches because we are the classiest witches you know. So thanks for coming to sit with us for a spell. Bye. We usually do it whoever opens.